Welcome to the SB-ITM Ecosystem live demo. In this video, we will follow a complete trading session from a dedicated Managed VPS, system preparation, pre-market analysis, market open execution, risk supervision, portfolio monitoring, and session review. The objective is to show how the SB-ITM ecosystem operates as an integrated, controlled, and automated trading environment. We start from the user's workstation and connect to the dedicated Managed VPS where the SB-ITM ecosystem is installed. This separates the trading environment from the local computer and helps keep the ecosystem running in a stable, controlled setup throughout the trading session. From the Managed VPS desktop, the user opens the SB-ITM Control Center. This is the main entry point of the ecosystem, giving direct access to the different operational areas from a single controlled interface. Before running the workflow, the user verifies the active environment. For this live demo, the system is configured to run in paper trading mode, clearly separated from the live environment. Once the environment is confirmed, the settings are applied, and the user continues to the next operational parameters. The bridge bot prepares the link between the decision process and the execution layer. For this live demo, only the strongest candidates are kept, using a controlled score threshold and a limited number of symbols. This keeps the demonstration focused while still showing how the selected opportunities move through the automated SB-ITM workflow. The entry bot receives part of its execution context directly from the pre-market workflow. The execution date and selected symbols are prepared upstream, then used by the entry bot at market open. This keeps the process consistent from opportunity selection to order preparation. For this demonstration, the default risk parameters are kept unchanged. The key point here is that the risk configuration is accessible directly from the control center before the trading session begins. This gives the user a clear view of the protection framework before the workflow starts. In normal operation, the SB-ITM components are started automatically through Windows scheduled tasks. For this live demo, the control center is used to launch the key components manually, making the workflow visible as it happens. This allows the demonstration to show the automation structure while keeping full control over the sequence. The first operational step is to start the SB-ITM ecosystem by launching the Watchdog bot. The Watchdog supervises the runtime environment, manages the interactive broker's gateway connection, and starts the risk bot once the connection is ready. As the risk bot initializes, it recovers the open positions, verifies the protection status, and keeps risk supervision active throughout the trading session. For this reason, the command windows remain open during operation. They are part of the running ecosystem. The regime bot is the first analytical step of the workflow. It evaluates the current market environment before the system continues with the scan and selection process. This gives the ecosystem a market context layer before identifying potential trading opportunities. The next component is the scan bot. It analyzes the configured watch list and applies the active scoring profile to identify potential trading candidates. For each symbol, around 25 metrics are evaluated, with a detailed Excel scan report generated at the end. The scan covers more than 1,000 symbols. To keep the demo concise, we skip the next 8 to 9 minutes and resume when the scan is reaching completion. We now resume at the end of the scan. The scan bot has processed the watch list and generated both the CSV and Excel outputs for detailed review. The summary shows the number of symbols scanned, the number successfully processed, and the candidates retained by the scoring logic. At this stage, the ecosystem has moved from a broad market universe to a focused shortlist of potential trading opportunities. The decision layer now takes the scan results and applies portfolio-aware selection rules. It does not send orders. Its role is to refine the shortlist by checking the score threshold, the current portfolio context, open positions, and sector exposure. At the end of this step, the only candidates that remain valid for the next stage are written to the decision output. The bridge bot now connects the decision output to the execution layer. It reads the candidates validated by the decision layer, applies the final bridge parameters, and prepares the symbols that will be used by the entry bot at market open. At this point, the workflow has moved from analysis and selection to execution readiness. Before market open, entry bot parameters are checked one final time. The selected symbols have been transferred from the upstream workflow, and the execution settings are ready for the opening sequence. This confirms that the ecosystem has completed the pre-market preparation and is now ready for order execution. Before market open, the status dashboard gives a consolidated view of the SB-ITM ecosystem. It confirms the active environment, the current market mode, the prepared entry symbols, the bot status, and the open positions already protected by take profit and stop loss orders. Before starting the entry bot, we will also run the cash bot and the snapshot bot to capture a clear portfolio view at the beginning of the session. Before market open, the cash bot captures the current portfolio cash position. It connects to IBKR, reads the account snapshot, and confirms the available cash, total portfolio value, cash allocation, and current profit and loss. This gives a clear final baseline before the entry bot starts the execution phase. Before market open, the snapshot bot captures a detailed view of the current portfolio. The generated report shows the open positions, entry prices, current prices, take profit and stop loss levels, profit and loss, and protection status. Together with the cash bot, this gives a clear portfolio baseline before the entry bot starts the execution phase. We now start the entry bot. Before market open, it moves into standby mode, validates the execution context, reads the prepared symbols, and waits for the scheduled entry window. At this stage, the ecosystem is ready to move from preparation to live order execution when the market opens. A few minutes before market open, the price monitor gives a relative view of the open positions. Using a base 100 chart, the system compares each position against SPY and QQQ, making it easier to see which stocks are stronger or weaker before the session starts. This provides useful market context before the entry bot reaches the execution window. At market open, the entry bot moves from standby to live execution. It first confirms the cash situation, checks the eligible symbols, and prepares the allocation plan for the selected opportunities. Once the final safety checks are passed, the bot submits the orders automatically inside the defined execution window. Here, we can see the orders being sent to the market, then filled by interactive brokers. As soon as a position is filled, the handoff to the risk bot begins, so the new trade can be detected and protected by the SB-ITM risk management layer. This is the key transition point where the ecosystem moves from preparation to fully automated live trading. Once the market session is underway, we check how the risk bot is managing the open positions. The system confirms that the positions are protected, with take profit, stop loss, and trailing stop logic visible in the monitoring output. In this example, NRG has already progressed through the trailing stop levels and reached the final level shortly before this check. This shows the risk management layer actively following the positions after execution. Now let's switch to the graph to visualize the move during the session. The price monitor now gives a visual view of how the positions are moving against the market. The chart is displayed in relative base 100 mode, making it easier to compare each position with SPY and QQQ from the same starting point. AGX remains visible on the graph even after being closed, which helps keep the intraday move readable. Here, we can compare NRG against the S&P 500 and also bring Google into the view to follow another active position in the same market context. After AGX has been closed, the Snapshot bot gives an updated view of the remaining open positions. The report confirms that the portfolio is still protected, with current prices, profit and loss, protection status, and trailing stop information when applicable. NRG is now managed by the trailing final stop level, while the new positions are already being monitored. Let's now run the cash bot to update the portfolio cash view. The CashBot now updates the portfolio view after the first phase of the session. AGX has been closed with a small realized profit, while the remaining open positions show an unrealized profit of around $7,200. The cash allocation is still close to 91%, which means roughly 10% of the portfolio is currently invested. We will run the CashBot again shortly before market close to compare the end of session cash level, portfolio value, and profit and loss. Before the end of the session, we will check the risk bot again. The goal is to confirm that the open positions are still detected, monitored, and protected. The summary shows the current protection status, including the position managed by the trailing stop logic. Before ending the live demonstration, we generate a final portfolio snapshot. This gives a second point-in-time view of the portfolio after the market has moved and after the risk bot has continued monitoring the open positions. The report confirms the remaining positions, the current unrealized P&L, and the protection status before the session close. Before closing the live demonstration, we return to the price monitor for a final market view. The relative base 100 chart shows how the remaining positions have moved through the session compared with SPY and QQQ. Together with the snapshot and risk bot checks, this gives a final visual confirmation of the portfolio behavior before the session ends. We now switch to the Generated Files menu. From here, the user can access the key outputs produced during the session: scan files, logs, reports, snapshots, and support files. Each bot leaves its own operational trace, making the trading session reviewable after execution. This live demo has shown the full SB-ITM operational cycle: VPS access, control center checks, pre-market analysis, market open execution, risk supervision, position monitoring, snapshots, cash views, logs, and reporting. For more information, visit the SB-ITM website, where you can find the solution overview, infrastructure details, videos, pricing, and documentation center. Thank you for watching this SB-ITM Ecosystem live demo.